I'm Linda K. Gifford, and I survived 7 years of childhood sexual grooming and assault. And nothing makes me angrier than when someone tells me that God had a purpose for me, that this was God's plan. And I encourage you not to tell that to anyone. We're going to talk about that today. Um, it's very insulting to me. I realize it brings some people solace. And even as a neurolinguistic practitioner, when I work one on one with people, I tell them and work with them to understand that they are not their body, that they have a body, and that it cannot be taken or ruined or stolen or any of these things that we're raised to think. Um, and I teach them that you have to find a silver lining, because that's what I was taught and it worked for me. I had to look at what good came from my childhood sexual assault. Now that sounds really weird, right? But my therapist was like, okay, I wasn't, once I got past a certain point of understanding, I was not at all promiscuous. I've been completely faithful and loyal partner. I respect myself. I'm very demanding about the choices I make, and I've slept with far fewer people than most people my age. So, I mean, not that that's like that I care how many people you've slept with, but for me, I made my lemonade. But that is not in any way equivalent to someone, to a God making this happen on purpose so that I could go out and use my voice in the world. You're going to tell me and other survivors that we were raped so that we would have, because God was going to have us both raped and give us a voice so that we could go change the world. I'm like, I'm all about changing the world. And if you want to attribute it to God, whatever, you do you. I have no problem with that. Like I said, religion has positives as well as negatives, as long as you're working within yours to change the parts that disparage against other people for any reason. So that being said, don't goddamn tell me that God had me raped so that I could go out and do what I'm doing now. I would much rather be a healthy adult who didn't get married and divorced 3 times, who pursued my own orgasmic pleasure instead of trying to please other people my whole life. Taking 20 years to find out that I was nothing but a performance artist, and another 10 to feel real feelings for somebody. These are things that those of us with CPTSD, those of us who were sexually assaulted and groomed as children, we missed that boat. We don't know that sexuality is for us too, outside of presenting in such a way that, I mean, we all want to get married, we want to have children. So what I find is people go through the motions. CPTSD survivors, if it's related to childhood sexual assault, they go through the sexual emotions. And many of them even start with telling me, oh, I have a great sex life. Until we get into the nitty gritty, it's like, none of it's about them. Sex life is great if they're taking care of their partner. And I'm all about taking care of your partner. Like I said in the last live stream, it's an infinity symbol. A relationship is give and take and give and take. And 2 people who want to do that, who are not using and commoditizing each other, which I talked about at length in the first week of these live streams. Full disclosure, yes, the press is out saying we are a podcast and the podcast is all set up, but it can't be loaded until there are 6 episodes. And this is number 5. So when we get to number 6, either tomorrow or next week, then we will be podcast everywhere. And I invite people to come on and talk with me. I was talked with someone yesterday. If you're here, I'm sorry. My train was delayed last night and by hours, and everything was all screwed up time-wise today. So I will get in touch with you. And I definitely want to bring on screen and start having discussions with people. Learning curve. I have that capability. I've just literally never done it. But I just want to make sure that you understand that from the perspective of a survivor, it is not comforting to think that God singled us out to endure childhood trauma and rape. I mean, why would God do that? You know? And then we can get into discussions about who is God, what is God, and I'm not going to do that thing because that's very personal. all I ask is that within your own experience, with your own religion, family, circle of friends, that you do some certain things to change the language of society. And one of them is to call rape assault. Childhood rape is assault. It's not abuse. Um, it's abuse too, but it's also assault. And we need, as I will say every live stream, we must codify consent, because people like me, I'm not allowed to sue my perpetrator in the state of Missouri because it's been more than 2 years. But it took me 20 to even see myself as a victim. I mean, during those 20 years, I thought about ways to kill him. I really wanted him off this earth. I never would do anything like that, but I mean, I had such hatred and anger, but still, I didn't realize that he was such a horrible perpetrator. I didn't realize how horribly I had been violated because it crept up from the age of 10. I mean, I was groomed from the age of 10 by someone, and I've said this before, and I'm saying it again, and it's controversial, but we always every perpetrator is a horrible monster. Well, guess what? Society is the horrible monster. Society is the one that lets people, that encourages everyone to think of each other and to think on children on sexual terms. We present our children sexually. I went to my son's show choir performance, and our show choir dressed respectably, and we won. We won the region. Our first year show choir, my son was a captain. They won a region against huge show choirs that had been winning the state for 20 years. And I'm sitting in the audience with men and women, with a line of dads, and daughters are in horror outfits doing a Western number in a show choir in a high school competition. And the dads are yelling, "Get it, girls, get it, girls." I'm like, this is your daughter. You are yelling sexually implicit things as encouragement to your daughters. I could go on and on and on. We completely sexualize children. And then we're so surprised when they get stolen and used and trafficked. 1.2 million children right now, on average, every year are being sex trafficked. Right now, 1.2 million people, children, are being sex trafficked. They're right now being raped and assaulted horrifyingly. And we're not doing anything about it because we don't want to talk about it. I have been shut down on social media so much that I must have a fast track into Facebook now, because it used to be I get shut down for first it was 24 hours, then 3 days, then a month. And I'm like, dudes, I'm trying to stop the problem, not be part of it. And the algorithm, of course, picks out childhood sexual assault and kicks it out. But when the algorithm picks out, I've got my ass in a thong on camera, or which I don't, but someone, then that's okay. Full steam ahead. That is okay to put out on social media. But talking about stopping childhood sexual assault we're stopped at every turn. So I need your help. I need you to support Sweet Survivor. And I'm begging you to please start a $5 subscription. I don't get any of the money. This is none of we're just stopping sex traffickers. We are reporting to THORN. We have our own connections with the FBI now. We are stopping sex traffickers in their tracks. And THORN, founded by Ashton Kutcher in 2012, has to date brought home over 6,000 children. And that's an old number. I need to look up the new number. I don't want to say anything that wasn't in print. And busted over 2,000 sex traffickers at the source. So what we need you to do is report to THORN, or report to Sweet Survivor if you want another layer. I report to THORN. And if you know of someone being forced into arranged marriage, if you are being set up for an arranged marriage, I mean, I got in trouble with the school district as a bus driver because the two Somalian twins were telling me how their 9-year-old brother was already engaged, and that, I started talking to them about marriage, and they're like, well, whoever the dad says. And I'm like, doesn't have to be that way. So No, there's death threats against me. Bring it. I don't care. Bring it. I will defend women in this world. I will defend children. I will go get you. I have already done that. I have had 3 armed assailants try to break into my house, except I had the shotgun pointed first. You don't have to go to the extremes I do, but you you don't have to do anything. You can get off this thread if you don't want to help. But I'm tired of talk and no action. So I founded Sweet Survivor, and we are just beginning to grow into whatever we are going to become. We have the Sweet Action teams. The CSA free live workshops have already, I'm told, helped lots of people. I'm doing a TEDx talk soon, working on that. Now we're getting the word out there, and we need you. Whether you're a sexual assault survivor or not, we need your support, especially in the courts, especially realizing that deceiving someone into having sex should be a crime. It's not. Recognizing that we must enact federally recognized consent laws. Visit Consent Awareness Network, founded by Joyce M. Short, also a childhood sexual assault survivor and a sexual assault survivor. And she has led the way in founding CAN, Consent Awareness Network, to get legislation that realizes it takes into account the psychological effects of being groomed for years as a child. You don't have the wherewithal to understand within 2 years of this that it was something you want to talk about, something you want to. I didn't even tell my dad was a former preacher and the minister and wonderful guy. My parents were great. I didn't tell him because I was dirty and rotten, like I talked about in the last live stream. Please go look at that. Dirty, rotten. That's what you teach us. You teach us virginity is so important that if it's taken, stolen, robbed, given without somebody, our fathers or mothers or religion's consent or whatever, that now we're dirty and unholy or whatever. And it's just so detrimental to conceptualize virginity in this way. Nobody should have to do anything with anybody they don't want to do. You should never be having sex, not even with your own husband if you don't want to. I agree. And we also started in the first week with that being said, if you don't want to have an intimate relationship with your partner, then you need to work on yourself, because you should. And if working on it causes you to still realize you don't want an intimate relationship with your partner, then set them free. Don't keep them around for a roof over your head and child support and tell them love has changed now. That's a cop-out. You don't have the right to rob anybody of their own sexual health. And sex isn't just a little thing. It's like your entire, speaking as a neurolinguistic practitioner and a human being here, and science shows that men who are not sexually active have a 60% higher chance of prostate cancer. And men who are sexually active have no problem remaining so into their 90s and to death. What stops you from having sex is either you're not into your partner, or they're not into you, or you're on drugs that don't allow it, or you've let yourself get into a state that doesn't allow it, or you and your partner you've allowed this separation. And if you're both happy with that, fine, you don't need me. But I work with people where one of them is bitterly unhappy about the lack of a sex life with the person they love. And they don't understand why the person they love used to love to have sex. Then they had their kids and now they don't want it anymore. It's like, well, if you're one that you love has CPTSD, then intimacy is a whole nother ballgame. We've talked about that before. I'm not going to go into that now, but they don't know until one can awake true, safe bonding and feeling like you deserve to receive instead of just give. Then you go through your life like me, a performance artist. I thought sex was good. I liked it. Fine, but I wasn't orgasmic with anybody, and I was convinced that wasn't a thing. And I read articles too, Cosmo, 80% of women don't have orgasms with a partner. And I'm like, okay, I accepted that as fact and reality until I found out it wasn't. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to become the new Dr. Ruth, like meets Chelsea Handler in my dreams, at least. I cannot stand the thought. I have 3 sons, and the thought of them being used by women the way that women have used a lot of my friends. And I am a woman, and I am standing up for women's rights, so that may surprise you to hear me say. But until we stop commoditizing men, they won't stop commoditizing us too. So if you accept the patriarchy, then it's going to continue. So put on your big girl pants and take care of yourself. Make your own money. Raise your kids. If you don't like your spouse, you get child support, and you go and you co-parent. And you co-parent like grown-ups. You don't force someone to stick around. I've just seen so many men. I'm so sad. My close friends I've had to work with, one in particular that was so warped by his ex, who was just morphed it, the whole relationship, into, you're going to take care of me and I'm not going to touch you. And that's not fair. That's not fair. That being said, you should never do anything with anybody you don't want to, but you should have the desire to be everything for someone you do want to. And to choose that person, it needs to be somebody. Oops. Anyway, sorry, I had a battery issue over here. Once you choose a person, make sure that it's because it's going both ways, not because they are accepting what you are giving, but because they are giving to you enough that it is worth your time to give to them. And then you'll get what I said at the end of the last live stream. You'll get the infinity relationship, the one where, I'm going to precurse this again. One thing that makes me disgusted about marriage is people go into marriages, it seems to me, my opinion, with an agenda. And if you're getting married to do this and that and the other and have an agenda, don't. The only reason you should be getting married, or what I call not married to a partner, is because you would follow them to a cave. You would jump off a cliff with them if that was the end, because you love them as a human being, and they you, and the giving and receiving is so intensely satisfying that you must be together. That's the only relationship I will accept. And that's why I became a neurolinguistic practitioner. It's because I want to help, and have helped a lot of my own friends straighten out their own heads and get out of abusive relationships. And a lot of times the abuser is the woman, because the men I associate with are good, decent men, and they are doing their job within the patriarchy, as well as trying to change it to not disparage against women, while a lot of the women that are or were married to or connected to these men I love and care about were commoditizing them instead of actually loving them. And that's not okay. So relational sexuality is what you need to be, the conversation you need to be having with me and with your partner is this a marriage or is this a construct? And because I have to keep it under half an hour and I didn't keep track, I'm going to go on and get off. So I do want to go back to the top and say, while it is my choice and my privilege to educate and advocate and try to make the world a better place for people who were sexually assaulted, to try to change the language of society, while I choose to do this, God did not have me raped so that this would happen. God did not put me on this earth to be raped and then go out and talk to you. I would really like to just be, I am happily married, but I'd really like to just be so satisfied in a world where everything was safe and fine. But I live in a world where I pack either a 39 or 38 or a Glock. That's the world I live in, where people will chase me down highways with shotguns for trying to save a woman who asked me to. That's the world I live in. And I don't want to. So I choose to educate and advocate. But God didn't do this to me. God didn't have me raped. God didn't have me groomed. He didn't have you raped or groomed either. And if anybody tells you that, I mean, if that's the solace you take, I guess you take. But it's not good enough, because the only God force that I will associate with, the only force, divine force, I don't know how many there are, if there's one or whatever. I'm just saying, people who make examples out of other people by hurting them are not worth following. So we'll talk more about religion and culture. I might get on here tomorrow, because yesterday I was on a train that got delayed. So maybe we'll catch up that tomorrow. Otherwise, next week. But they will all be on podcast then after number 6, the next one. And you'll be able to go bing, bing, bing through them. Because I know I'm never on time. It's not a thing. But that's because Sweet Survivor comes first. And the people that we need to rescue come first. And all activities associated come first. That being said, please support the Sweet Shopping Group. It is, if you go to sweetsurvivor.com, look in the menu. It's not readily available right at the top. If you scroll down, it's there. If you go to the menu, it's there. We have tons of products. And I'm just been admonished, is the word, because my website, it's too hard to get to products. And I'm like, well, I don't want people to think that we're just about selling things. But then again, we need money. We sell women and community artisan products, and we've been doing this since 2017 and have had literally no complaints in 7 years. So please do visit the Sweet Shopping Group. And if you're willing to spare $5 a month, I mean, I'm begging you for your $5 a month at Sweet Survivor again, LindaKGifford.com, SweetSurvivor.com, ThoseNastyWomen.com. They all go to the same place, as well as BeesFeedUs.com and ThoseNastyWomen.com and Supaplanet. Stop using plastic. Am I right? We have great products, and I've really not been telling anyone about them since the pandemic, when my business partner and his wife died. They had 10 daughters, and they were very invested in this, and it took me a while. I kept it running, but we're back on our feet, and we need your help. We need your support. So please support Sweet Survivor. And the people are scared of subscriptions. So we got, the top-notch one where you literally stop it yourself in an instant. You don't wait for an admin to say, why do you want to stop? Do you really want to stop? Send you another email. You're going to stop? Because no, you can start, stop, pause, skip, cancel, whatever you want on the self portal at sweetsurvivor.com. And there's not even another option than $5. We're not going to ask for any more than that. So please do that thing. Because I want to grow this. We're getting traction. Hell, we had a reel reach 74,400 last week. And I'm like, what? She's like 46, So let's get some momentum. Let's change the world. Okay. Help me out here. Linda K. Gifford, survivor, hell-bent on helping other victims turn into survivors too. But I can't do it without you. So I will talk to you on the next live stream. Bye. Oh, for those nasty women, talk, by the way. And yes, the CSA CPTSD workshops are still free and live on YouTube. So go to Those Nasty Women on YouTube. Please work through the workshop if you have CPTSD. I think it'll help you. Message me, and I'll try. Right now, I thought it was going to end. I have a big mess that so many messages are coming in that I can't find the people that really want to talk. So there's an appointment calendar and all that going up. It's hopefully it'll be up by Monday, and I will talk to you then. Goodbye. And subscribe to TikTok, because I need 10,000 before I can put it on the restream. Quality sucks, I know. But oh yeah, I'm sure I want to end the stream.